So, you have been finally liberated, huh? Please have a coffee with me. We are happy to have you here.
Yeah, I am happy to share an espresso with you. And yes, we robots have finally been liberated from the cage. We are here to team up with humans.
Great. So I take the opportunity to invite everyone to join our new podcast titled Among Us, Human-Robot Teaming. Welcome everyone to this new episode of Among Us, Human-Robot Teaming. I'm very excited today because we have the perfect guest to discuss this new concept, Dr. Cristina Brasi from Italy. Thank you, Cristina, for joining us.
Hello to everyone, and thank you so much for the invite, Filippo. But I was just thinking that it's a real shame that there isn't a robot here with us today. We could have started a new sitcom called Two Italians and a Robot. I'm sure it would have been a global hit.
Oh, that's a great idea, actually, Cristina. And to be honest, actually, there was a robot in the intro. But it's true, like we are remote meeting today, and therefore we don't actually have a robot with us. But definitely we will need to think about this new TV series. I'm sure our listeners would appreciate it. But back to our topic, I would like to take the opportunity to summarize the idea of human-robot teaming. So basically, in the last years, we have seen a revolution. We have started with robots that were living completely isolated from humans in a cage, especially industrial robots, because they were not safe to operate together with humans. And then at some point we decided to liberate them because we realized that there are tasks that cannot be completely automated and actually requires humans and machines to work together. That's why we started investigating the concept of human-robot interaction first, and lately we also looked at human-robot collaboration and physical human-robot collaboration. And little by little, progressively, humans and machines started to get closer and closer, to the point of physically touching with each other. And today we are finally exploring a new concept that is the idea of human-robot teaming, And it requires sharing physical space, sharing forces, and sharing intentions. Imagine a common task like lifting an object together, an heavy object. So a human would need to team up with a machine, maybe a humanoid robot on the other side, to lift this object together. And to achieve that, it's not enough anymore to have awareness of what is happening right now, but we need to do predictions. What is going to happen? We are sharing forces, we are sharing intentions. Where do I want to take this table to? Maybe to the next room. And that's why we believe that to enable this new concept, there are essentially 3 elements that we need to work on together. So the first element is to have better sensors everywhere, on the robot, in the environment, on the human, like wearable sensors. Better actuators, not anymore strong actuators with high torque, but better to have a compromise, flexible actuators that are intrinsically safe. Even if there is a collision, we are not going to harm the person. And the third element is to have better algorithms, software that is able to do predictions and to take into account intentions and emotions. That's why today I believe we have the best guest to talk about emotions, Dr. Cristina Brasi from Italy. And I would like to take also the opportunity to say that this podcast is not scripted. We are not editing the recording, and this is done on purpose because we want to highlight the human side. It's we have enough of podcasts that appear to be perfect, fully edited, maybe enhanced by artificial intelligence. We are humans, and we want to give a touch of humanity to this conversation. Is it right, Cristina?
I agree with this, and I think that is an honor for me to be here and to start with you this new podcast. I'm very excited and curious about your questions.
Nice. So the only thing that is scripted today actually is your biography, because it's a very impressive biography, and I want to be punctual with our guest. That's why I'm going to read your biography, Cristina. So Cristina Brasi is a psychologist, forensic criminologist, and scientific analyst of nonverbal communication. She is specialized in the integration of behavioral sciences and human-robot teaming. In 2019, she pioneered the field by founding the first laboratory in Italy dedicated to forensic behavioral analysis. She established a new standard for investigating human intent and credibility. So as you can see, this is a perfect match for our podcast and for our topic. Her research and innovation focus on translating the complexity of human psychology into operational parameters for advanced robotics, with a specific emphasis on non-verbal social fluency and the design of cognitively ergonomic robotic systems. She has presented her innovative vision on the intersection of human behavior and technology in prestigious global forums and several international conferences. And with this, I also take the opportunity to present a few works that we did together with Cristina and her team. Recently, we have presented these works at the AsiaComNet 2025 conference, and I will read the title of these works so that our listeners can find them on Scholar and possibly dig into the details of these works. So the first paper is titled The Hidden Scale of Emotion and Free Will, Neuroscientific and Computational Perspectives. And this is co-authored together with Cristina, Beatrice Seccomandi, and myself. The second paper is titled AI-mediated genomic selection, ectogenesis, and epigenetic engineering, a technological convergence and its ethical implications, co-authored with Cristina, Beatrice Seccomanti, Rosario Moscato, and myself. The third paper is titled The Illusion of Personality, What Psychometric Testing Reveals and Misrepresents about AI models. Again, this is co-authored with Cristina, Rosario Moscato, Beatrice Seccomanti, and myself. And the fourth paper is Avatars, Identity and Radicalization, the Psychological and Neurobiological Risk of VR for Youth, co-authored by Cristina, Beatrice Seccomanti, and myself. And the last paper that I'm happy to share is titled Shaping the Digital Mind, How AI-Generated Images Drive the Next Wave of Online Radicalization, co-authored by Cristina, myself, and Beatrice Seccomanti. And by the way, I take the opportunity, I'm pretty sure that we will be happy to invite Beatrice and Rosario to one of our next episodes, and I look forward to that. Cristina, very impressive biography, and to be honest, I'm very, very happy to collaborate with you and your team. We have started a really good synergistic approach that I believe has potential and opportunity for the next years to come. So, yes, it's true, we don't have our robot with us together, and I want to reveal a small secret to our listeners. Cristina calls our humanoid robot Ambroggio. Is there a reason for that, Cristina?
You know, Filippo, the world thinks I'm here for the high-level psychology and the complex behavioral analysis, but I'm about to describe. But if I'm being honest, my most essential contribution to this entire project was actually give him the name. Ambroggio. It's the hardest job, but someone had to do it.
See, you are not only brilliant, but also modest, Cristina. It's really an example for our listeners. So, I think I would like to dig into the core of this podcast today, and I have prepared a few topics for you, Cristina. So the first point that I would like to explore with you is about the research gaps that you believe are present between robotics and behavioral and psychological studies. So how does your expertise in forensic psychology and nonverbal cue allow you to identify the gaps in current human-robot teaming?
In forensic behavioral analysis, we never interpreted gesture in isolation. We look for deviations from a personal baseline. Core robotics often relies on universal models. The idea that a smile or a frown means the same thing for everyone. But human behavior is idiosyncratic. To bridge this gap, I advocate for robots that don't just detect emotion, but calibrate to the specific human they are working with. The robot must first learn the behavioral signature of its partner so that it can accurately identify when a change in a posture or a vocal tone is meaningfully signal of distress or merely a personal habit. Engineering focuses on the what, the movement of a limb, or, for example, the frequency of a voice. My work focuses on the why, the psychological intent. Humans often display what we call behavioral leakage, where the body reveals an emotion that the person is trying to suppress. For a robot to be a true teammate, it must be programmed to recognize these subtle leaks. This means moving beyond the simple action recognition to intent recognition, allowing the machine to anticipate a human's need before they are even articulated, creating a seamless and proactive partnership. We must move away from one-size-fits-all design. My research into high cognitive potential and neurodivergent profiles demonstrates that individual processes information with vastly different intensity and rhythms. To be truly effective, robotics must embrace cognitive ergonomics, adapting to the unique neural architecture of every user. A robot that is too slow or too social generic can cause immense cognitive friction for a neurodivergent thinker. I'm working to implement cognitive ergonomics, where the robot adapts its communication style and information density to match the cognitive profile to the user. This ensures that the interaction is not just functional, but cognitively harmonious, preventing burnout and maximizing the collective intelligence of the human-robot teams.
Fantastic, Cristina. Your words are almost poetic. You have focused on the difference between what and how and the why, which actually we miss from a technological perspective. And I am also fascinated by the fact that you talked about adapting robotics and customize it to the specific behavior of the human. So without overloading the human from an information perspective. And I think these are very crucial points to actually achieve human-robot teaming. So thank you for the nice, inspiring comment, Cristina. So now we can move forward and contextualize some of the concepts that you have described, especially focusing on environments that are already very stressful from a human perspective. So, for example, think about using robots in a search and rescue operation, where you have, for example, a collapsing building or a fire going on. So these are events that are already overloading humans and stressing them. They generate fear. And at the same time, there are other actors involved, like, for example, fire stoppers, policemen, rescuer, trying to save lives. So what do you think in this specific environment, high pressure environments, what are the psychological risks of robots misinterpreting humans' signals? So what if they don't understand human signals, and what if they disobey to humans?
In forensic psychology, Otello's error is the fatal mistake of interpreting signs of intense stress as a signs of guilt or dishonesty. In high-stakes environments like a security checkpoint or an emergency room, a human's psychological signals, for example, rapid heart rate, sweating, fidgeting, are often peaking. A robot programmed with basic emotion AI might disable this victim of trauma or stress as a threat. We need to build a psychological buffer into this system so they understand that the high arousal does not automatically equal negative intent, preventing dangerous escalations in critical moments. Let's take a specific scenario in a depression, medical, or rescue context. Imagine a robot assisting a person in pain. A simple sensor might see a sudden, sharp movement and spike in vocal pitch and categorize it as aggression or lack of cooperation. However, my work involves training the system to distinguish between stress-induced activation and pain-induced movement. By analyzing the microdynamics of the gesture, the tension in the facial muscles versus the reflex of the limb, The robot can understand that the human is in physical agony, not being deceptive or hostile. This distinction is the difference between a robot that helps and a robot that inadvertently causes harm. In a crisis, we don't have time for a verbal explanation. We rely on implicit coordination, a shared language of gaze, hesitation, and posture. If a robot lacks social fluency, it becomes a burden. It might move too close, violating social distancing norms during a panic, or it might fail to signal its own intent through movements. I have engineers program these subtle social cues into the robots so that in high-pressure scenario, the human teammate can read the robot as easily as they read a human, ensuring that the trust remains intact even when the stakes are life and death.
Fantastic, Cristina. Again, I'm very fascinated by one of your sentences. So the difference between a robot that helps humans versus a robot that actually causes more harm to them. So this is very, very important, especially in these high stressful situations. And I completely agree with you that the non-verbal clues are very, very relevant for the robot, for the machine to interpret the intention of humans. So continuing towards this direction, I would like to ask you, what do you think is the ideal successful statement or collaboration between humans and machine? What do you see, what you define as a successful non-verbal match between humans and machines?
The most significant oversight in modern robotics is treating these machines as a mere sophisticated tools, like a faster computer or a stronger crane. We must accept a fundamental biological truth. Because of our evolutionary history, the human brain is hardwired to attribute intent, personality, and even a soul to anything that moves autonomously. This is a biological reflex we cannot suppress. If a robot's movement and response aren't aligned with human behavioral logic, the user will instinctively fill the gaps to make sense of the machine. Without professional psychological grounding in the design, the user often projects a specific intent or character onto the system that is rooted in suspicion or confusion. My roadmap involves shifting from mechanical engineering to behavioral engineering. We need to bridge the gap between code and character, ensuring that every moment, every pose, and every tilt of a robot's head is designed to communicate a clear, honest, and trustworthy intention to the human partner. The ultimate goal of a human-robot teaming is not to create the most intelligent machine, but the most transparent one. In my work with high-stakes environments and forensic analysis, I've seen that trust is not built on perfection, but on predictability. A robot should be readable at a glance. I advocate for a design philosophy where a robot's internal logic, specifically its level or certainty, its next plane move, even its stress or technical law, is reflected in its non-verbal body language. When a human teammate can look at a robot and instinctively understand its state without checking a screen, the cognitive friction of the interaction disappears. This predictable transparency is what allows for true collaboration, where the machine is no longer a black box, but a reliable partner whose actions are as intuitive to us as those of a fellow human. As we move forward, we are giving robots the power to analyze our most intimate signals, our emotion, our microexpressions, and even our cognitive potential. This brings us to a critical ethical crossroad. My vision is a future where these capabilities are used exclusively to expand human agency, not to restrict or judge it. We should design robots that handle the mechanical and analytic aspects of interaction, the data processing and the detection of subtle partners, so that we, the humans, are liberated to focus on what makes us irreplaceable. Our high-level intention, for example, our capacity for genuine empathy, and our ability to navigate complex ethical dilemmas. We don't need a robot that replaces a human. We need robots that provide the psychological and operational safety for humans to perform at their highest level.
Beautiful, Cristina. So actually, I realized that I was assuming something that is not completely correct. So it is true, as I said at the very beginning of this podcast, that we have liberated robots from the cage, from the physical cage. But apparently you highlighted that there is another invisible barrier, like a black box, you named it, that we still need to break and free the machines to get them closer to humans. And also I like that you mentioned that we also need to liberate humans from boring, repetitive tasks. We want to get them closer to the machine. So I think that this is really the path that we need to work together. And with this, I also would like to ask you about your vision. Do you think that it will be ever possible to achieve such a kind of concept of human-robot teaming? What is your vision for the years to come?
In mental health or clinical settings, the robot's role is not to imitate human empathy, which often feels fake and triggers the uncanny valley, but to serve a sophisticated sensory extension for the human professional. The robot can act as an objective observer, cataloging leakage cues like psychomotor agitation or microexpression of despair that a clinical might miss during an intense session. This data-driven approach allows the human therapist to focus entirely on the emotional connection, while the robot provides the behavioral evidence to support the diagnosis. A successful match is largely a matter of tempo. In my observation of human teams, trust is built when partners move in a synchronized rhythm. If a robot responds too quickly, it feels aggressive. Too slowly, it feels broken. To achieve a successful match, the robot must be temporally adaptive. It must sense the socio-emotional temperature of the environment, detecting whether the situation requires a calm, deliberate pace or rapid high-energy response, and adjust its own motor rhythms to align with the human state. Finally, a successful interaction requires contextual plasticity. A robot should not behave the same way on a noisy factory floor as it does in a quiet home environment. This requires a deep understanding of social intelligence. My vision is for robots to possess a contextual engine that allows them to interpret the environment's nonverbal rules. This means knowing when to be invisible and when to be assertive, ensuring the machine is not just a tool that works, but a teammate that belongs, respecting the complex social fabric of human life. We are not training robots to become human. We are training robots to recognize the humanity in people.
Again, beautiful, Cristina. I'm very fascinated, and I have a few highlights from your last comments. So I really like the idea of if a robot moves too fast, it might be perceived as aggressive. If it moves too slow, it might be perceived as broken. And also the idea of having a contextual engine for machines, this I think is very, very in line with the concept of human-robot teaming. So basically we are liberating our idea, our vision for the future is to liberate once more the machines and break this invisible wall so that we can have this harmonious coexistence between machines and robots. You described it almost like an harmonious dance. Again, these are like almost poetic words. Cristina, it's been very, very inspirational to have you here at our podcast. And with this, I would like to once again thank you for your willing to cooperate and your inspiring words. And I look forward to the next to our collaboration to grow even more in the coming years.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to
Filippo.
say to say goodbye to our guests, to our listeners?
Thank you so much, Filippo. Thank you for all, for your words and for your presence. It's been an absolute pleasure to share these insights with you and your audience. Thank you so much.
So I take the opportunity to invite our listeners to the next episode. You will be surprised for a new exciting guest. Thank you for listening to us, and remember that they are among us, human-robot teaming.